we've been doing this for a whole... Wait, no, not 9 years. We've just finished 8 years, haven't we?
Yeah, this will be the start of year 9.
Jesus Christ. 9 years. Oh, we haven't done the thing, like saying if our podcast was a child. This is the first time we get to say, what year of school would they be in?
I
think
wouldn't it be like
year 4.
4? Yeah. Fuck.
Well, hey, I mean, like, you say that, but eventually, 9 years from now, maybe one of us does have a kid that's in year 4. In fact, one of us... well, I mean, all being well, Jesus Christ. Yeah.
It's entirely possible that there will be a child in year 4.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
That's crazy, isn't it? That's really scary, actually. So, yeah, I think we mentioned this at the end of the last season, but we are recording at a bit of a pace for the start of season 9, aren't we? Because, as we have alluded to, I'm having a baby. Well, I mean, I say I am. I think our wife is going to be doing most of the legwork in that area.
I think I would put it to you that she already is doing most of the work.
Yes. Given that, she's been experiencing quite a significant amount of pain just from walking. So, if my child is listening to this, you are responsible for quite a lot of your mum's misery right now.
I mean, at what point are you going to introduce Baby Duck to podcasts?
Oh, she's never finding out that this is a thing. Do you know how many times we say cunt on this?
I mean, I'm not putting it out there that I will do this, but I think I might be the one she learns that word from.
You have previously, and for a number of years, have said that's your ultimate goal, is if we do have kids, the first word that they learn from you is cunt. So,
yeah, but only in the house at you.
Yeah. Well, I think that's appropriate. So, takes after a mum. Yeah, so we are recording these at a fair pace because I'm going to be absent for some time in early 2024. So yeah, we're trying to...
we at Co-Pilots have a very good paternity scheme.
Yeah, I need to talk to you about that because I need to find out something about the payment side of things. I need to know the bunts, like what sort of deal am I getting for not being here for several months.
What I'll do is continue to not ask you for money.
That sounds absolutely fair.
And if for no reason in that time that you're off, the podcast starts making money, you'll get some of it. If I decide to tell you.
Yeah. I would keep that to yourself and just pocket it if I were you.
Yeah, in the unlikely event.
Extremely unlikely.
That becomes a thing.
So yeah, I cannot believe that we've come to... This is the 9th year of doing this and we haven't done The Sopranos yet. I was 100% sure we had discussed The Sopranos on here.
We might have discussed them, but not ever in like the context of watching the actual show.
No. So we're pairing it with Boardwalk Empire. Why is that? What's the link?
Crime.
Is it crime but also duality? Because both Nucky and Tony are criminals with a
conscience,
outside facing, a law abiding front face thing.
No, it was mostly the crime.
Yeah, fine. I was trying to draw a link between Tony and the waste management and Nucky going like, oh, I really don't like booze. Oh,
like the public persona. The front, if you will.
I guess Tony doesn't really have that though, does he? Because I think everybody knows he's a mobster. But anyway, which of these two shows do you want to start with?
Should we talk about the one that you watched first, presumably hundreds of years ago?
It was quite a long time ago that I first watched the first episode of The Sopranos. I think it was last year, I did start watching The Sopranos just as a show. So but I didn't get past the first series. Like I watched the first few episodes, but I can't remember where I got to because it was on a DVD.
Yeah, I think it's one of those shows that's so ingrained in popular culture, pop culture, if you will, that everyone's sort of aware of what it is.
Yeah.
And you can sort of mostly muddle through, unless a conversation gets specific about it, sort of muddle through and be like, oh yeah, no, I saw them do that crime thing. And get away with not actually watching it. But it is very good, to be fair.
It's often cited as like one of the best TV shows ever made, isn't it? It's often passed around with like The Wire and Breaking Bad as like, you know, the best TV ever made.
Yeah, I think you can definitely... I've seen its influences in other TV shows. Like, there's a crime family in Arrow that's basically the Sopranos, and they live in the big house, they've got the pool, daughter's a bit of a rebel, and like it feels and looks very much Soprano-esque.
I think there's also like a straight line that you can draw between Tony Soprano and Walter White. Like, if you don't have Tony Soprano, you don't get Walter White. And actually, that was quite a lot of what I wrote about in my university dissertation. So I was talking about representations of fatherhood on TV, and largely it was just because I wanted to talk about Breaking Bad. But I did draw a comparison with Tony Soprano. But yeah, take it away. Where are we? What's happening? Who do and why?
1998 crime. Lots of people do crime.
I thought you were going to talk about the psychiatry bit, but
everyone do crime. But big old Tony Soprano is in therapy because apparently being a crime man is quite
stressful
difficult on the old psyche. And he's very sad that the Ducks have left.
Yeah, there's quite a fair. I think that whole thing with like the ducks in the pool and him being happy when he's in the pool with the ducks, and then the ducks fly away and he's really upset. I think that's one of those things where it's like, oh, I saw that on like The Simpsons or something. I feel like I had that not spoiled, but the first time I saw that wasn't in The Sopranos. It was something
a parody of it somewhere.
Yeah, something like that. I can't think what it was, but I sort of always had an awareness that was what was going on. Also, there is a straight line between Tony Soprano and your man Michael from Grand Theft Auto 5, because he's very, very similar to Tony Soprano, and he's going to a therapist as well.
Yeah, and it is weird to sort of be rooting for someone that you know is like almost instinctively. You're like, I know that he is really, while the protagonist also a baddie.
Yeah, saying
like
that,
it's like if you took Star Wars from Vader's point of view, like he's not a good person.
I mean, you say that, but what I've seen of The Sopranos, Tony is actually yet to get his hands dirty. I'm sure he does. Like, I'm sure he does some really, really horrible stuff. But I think they quite deliberately, to start with as well, they need you to get on side with him. So you have to...
It's the same thing that they did with Walter White.
Yeah.
Until Jane doesn't actively have any involvement with any real deaths that happen because of him. Well, and even Jane's inaction is not a action.
There is an argument that he is completely ignoring the fact that meth is so addictive that it's ruining lives, and because he does that weird sort of moral crusader, doesn't he? Like, oh yeah, but my stuff's not cut with anything crap, so they're getting, it's healthier for the addicts, and you're like, well, yeah, fine.
Well, yeah,
from
at
you
the point,
it is.
At the point you sell it, yeah.
But then as
Not
soon
at the
as you
point
give
a
it
dealer
to,
sells it,
as soon as you get it into, Tuco's hands or whatever, that ceases to be a defense, does it? So
yeah, Amelie, until he can't use his hands anymore because he's dead.
That's true. God, I really want to watch Breaking Bad again now.
I have rewatched it not too long ago.
Does it still hold up?
Yeah, it's weird because there's a lot of stuff that you're like,
You forgot about.
I forgot about that. Like, I forgot how early on Jane was.
Season 2, isn't Jane?
Yeah, that's the thing. I sort of felt like it was late game. but it just wasn't.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
Another the thing that got me, particularly about the pilot episode, is the power that his mum has over him, and also like Junior's. Is it Junior? He's the older.
His uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact that they're like the older members of the family, but they might still hold some sway over the rest of the family. I find them like weirdly
whole,
quite
like,
scary, those two characters.
Well, yeah, because I think isn't the whole idea like mafias for life? It is like a family sort of thing rather than while it makes sense for you, hang about with us, do some crimes, and then leave. It's like a full on. You're here until you die, and once you age out, we'll look after you, but you'll still be around.
I guess, but I mean, I'm not hugely au fait with mafia stuff. Like the only like parallels, my only knowledge of mafia comes from literally The Godfather and maybe this. I don't really watch a lot of like mafia stuff.
Well, I've watched some true crimey stuff on mafia stuff, and it's interesting, and that is the impression that I get, that it's like you'll be in it for life. Your life might not be very long. You'll be in it for life.
What's mad is I heard stories about like when Francis Ford Coppola was they made The Godfather. Apparently, like they introduced stuff in the film that the real mafia then adopted. Like
that's wild.
Yeah, certain, I don't know, like behaviours, but certainly like, you know, the suits and the looks and that sort of thing. It became such a powerful sort of representation of you know, even if it was fictional, of their world, that they just adopted several things from it, which is bonkers.
I guess there's like you see it in this. There's an element of like the crime stuff. They're not trying to hide it from everyone, just the police.
Yeah,
because they still want like laymen's to understand and respect them. Like when when he goes into the restaurant and he's like, the maitre d' comes over and is like, oh, yep, right this way, and there's clearly a fucking queue, and it's just like, no, they get right through, and then it's like, oh, that's my decorator advice lady and husband, can you just set them up a nice little table? And it's that and like everyone recognizes them. But so it makes sense that like you would in reality adopt things from the film because you still want to be seen as such. And it's ultimately, if the police can't prove that you did it, who cares? Well, not who cares. The other thing, they can't. If they can't prove it, you can't go to prison.
Do you know anything about how this show ends?
I mean, I'm assuming that most everyone dies at the end, because that's how these things normally end. I guess.
I mean,
because you don't retire.
I don't know about that, but it's got a very, very famous ending, and it ended in a way that pretty much no show has done before or since, I think. But there's probably a chance that you might go on to watch some more of this, so I'm not. I am
absolutely going to find out how this ends.
Yeah, it's got a very famous ending, and when you get to it, I will be intrigued as to what you think of it. But you just don't look it up. Just don't try not to look at anything to do with it. But yeah, so like, what do you think of like, what are your? Because the relationship that I probably enjoy the most is between Tony and his psychiatrist, Dr. Melfi. Those are the bits where I love the show best, because he's been honest with how he's feeling, and she knows who he is, but isn't necessarily judging him too much on it.
Yeah, I like that relationship, and I also quite like the mother, daughter, father like relationship. That seems like quite an interesting dynamic between those three. where
What you mean, Tony, Carmela, and Meadow?
yes, where mother daughter not getting on because teenagers and their mums. That's what they do. But he also seems to be, I don't know, in the way that like I think most dads are a bit of a soft touch to a daughter, but he's also not really like just doing what she wants. He's trying to like, I guess, explain why her mum's a bit like, could you just try at school? And he takes her to the church and is like, our ancestors were part of the team that built this church. And it's like, oh, that's quite a good letter, because it's like, oh, and he's like, do you know anyone who could do that now? It's like, oh. So he's trying to get her to apply herself by being like, look what people in our family have done before. I also do quite like that she just rolls her eyes when her mum's just like, there are rules, and she's just like, but my dad's a crime boss. Like, do we really do rules here? But no, it's quite interesting, the whole like family life, crime life separation stuff.
That's yeah. I mean, we will come on to that with Boardwalk Empire, but that's always the most interesting thing you can do with, and it happens of like with superheroes as well. Well, with the superheroes who are concerned with secret identities, is that the most interesting parts of the story come where the two things they're trying to keep separate blend across each other. So yeah, and I think you absolutely get that with Tony Soprano, like you say, the domestic and the criminal. But then also when we're going to start talking about Steve Buscemi's character Nucky, like the fact that it opens with him giving a speech about how against alcohol and prohibition he is, that as he was giving that speech, I absolutely thought to myself, I was like, the most interesting thing that can happen now is for him to be lying and for him to actually be involved in, you know, moonshine, that sort of thing. And then, lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. So, but yeah, I mean, it still feels quite recent that James Gandolfini died. I don't know about what you think about that, but it's like 10 years ago that he died now. But I remember like hearing he died and being so shocked because he was quite young. He was only 51.
Yeah, I think it is weird because it was the same with like oh, I've forgotten her name.
Go on, give us a clue.
She plays Poppy in Peaky Blinders.
I know.
Helen McCroy.
Yes.
Like she was young as well.
Was she Narcissa Malfoy as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that was crazy.
And she was the voice of James McAvoy's Damon in his Dark Materials as well.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
She did finish that before.
No.
She didn't. Oh, so they had to recast?
Yeah, find someone to fill those shoes.
Oh. Bloody hell. Yeah, so you're going to carry on with Sopranos, are you?
I mean, like, absolutely.
Because it does that other thing that I think we like a lot, is it just drops you into the world and just says, keep up.
Figure it out, yeah.
Because this is something that I kind of struggled with the first episodes of The Sopranos, is that it does feel like for quite a lot of the early episodes, it does feel like there's not really a driving narrative. You're just sort of hanging out with them for quite a long time. But you know, I'm sure it'll. I stopped watching it and I haven't really felt a huge pull to go back to it, other than the fact that it's The Sopranos and everybody says The Sopranos is brilliant.
It's weird because it sort of feels like one of those TV shows that's like, it's one of those like you have to have seen it at some point. Like, I mean, to be fair, there's a lot of those on like the What? How many episodes? How many TV shows have we watched at this point? Like 200 and something.
Yeah, over
Like,
200.
It's in that list. There are so many like must watches.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got the 1001 book here, so there's at least 1001 TV shows that are must watches.
In fairness, like, it's only 13 episodes a series. So it's not, like, crazy.
It's a good number. And that's a good number for, like, an old TV show. Not an old... Well, it is actually quite old. It's
it starts
20 years old.
Yeah, it starts in 99.
So, like, that's a good number for an older TV show, because they were really, really into... Yeah, a season is 23 episodes, and that can go fuck off.
So you never played the Sopranos game that came out on PS2?
No, because I hadn't seen The Sopranos, but I'd have played the Sopranos game. That would be weird.
I don't really understand how you make a video game of the Sopranos.
I imagine it's probably like a bit of a Mafia GTA sort of game.
Yeah.
Or you'll be like some low-level like enforcer or something, and you've just got to work your way up to being top dog. Or made man, as they call it.
It was in that weird era of PS2 games where they were making games about any sort of TV show or movie tie-ins, weren't they?
Yeah, I
think,
played the shit out of the Scarface one. That was really good.
doesn't that end with you with I can't remember his name. What's his name in Scarface?
Tony Montana?
That's it, Tony Montana. It ends with him not dying at the end of the film.
No, that's how it starts. Yeah, it starts with him not dying at the end of the film. Yeah, you said it ends with that. And I was
No,
like,
sorry, yeah.
'cause that would just be a game of the film.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's him. But then also rebuilding the Empire because everyone thinks he's dead. I never finished it, but it was good fun. It was like it was GTA Vice City, but
yeah,
with not just like references to Scarface. It was Scarface.
I think there's a good sort of, I don't know what it is, like podcast series of videos, whatever, just talking about like the various tie-ins that came to like the PS2 and Xbox from like 2002 to 2007. I think that's a really interesting period of games for that sort of stuff. Like you had all the Simpsons tie-ins, you had the Buffy stuff, you had all the Potters. You know, I think a few Star Wars ones. I think that'd be worth a look.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that when you're on paternity leave.
How quickly do you anticipate? Maybe this is a new feature for season 9. How quickly do you anticipate you're going to finish The Sopranos?
What are they? 13-hour longs a season?
Yeah, although
How many seasons?
Season 6 has got like part 1, part 2, so it's basically 7.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe finish it by
Christmas?
Christmas, yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to hold you to that. But obviously, Christmas has just been, so...
Yeah, no, that is that is factually accurate. Yeah, because we're just fresh off the boat from Ireland. Like some of the people in Boardwalk Empire.
Nice. Boom. Right, let's do that.
Did I say fresh off the boat? We're fresh off the plane. We didn't get a boat. We have planes now.
It was a little plane.
Yeah, if it landed on the water, it would have been a boat, technically, for a bit.
Until it became a submarine.
Yes.
Right, Boardwalk Empire. What did you know about Boardwalk Empire before we started watching Boardwalk Empire?
Absolutely nothing. Apart from it almost got paired with Empire once upon a time because they both had the word Empire in the title. But then it didn't.
Did you know Stephen Graham was in it?
Only after we were talking about it.
Okay, we're going to get to the point where it reveals Stephen Graham in a sec, but let's just do this. So, Steve Buscemi opens up. He is giving a talk on the night before Prohibition comes into effect to a series of women a collection of women who are they're pro-prohibition, so they're for the banning
the Women's Temperance League.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Okay, you're on Wikipedia. Yeah, so they're against alcohol and that sort of stuff, and it was a shame because I was like, on the one hand, I was like, I'm quite for what he was saying, like, yeah, hopefully this country at some point soon will give you ladies the vote, and I was like, yeah, I'm with you on that one. And then he was like, yeah, but also...
But don't you take my whiskey.
Yeah, no, fuck you, it's delicious. I've been drinking whiskey tonight, so go away. He then leaves and immediately is accosted by somebody, and he goes, I don't give a fuck. And then he takes a sip out of a hip flask, and that was the point where I was like, I am fucking in with this.
Yeah. And then he goes basically straight into a meeting with, I guess, town officials or, his little gang of helpers. And they're just like, this prohibition shit's going to make us some money.
That must have been a side effect that just wasn't considered. Is the fact that...
it's the same thing that happens whenever you ban anything, is that people will still be able to get it. It will just cost them more and it will be harder.
Do you know what it is? It's a good advert for the decriminalisation of, drugs and stuff, I thought. Because it's like, well, if you could, tax it and make it safe, there's money to be made there, surely. Because people are going to do it anyway. People aren't abstaining from taking drugs because of the legality of it. They're not morally against it. It's just, it's because it's against the law, they're being decriminalised. They're still going to do it. So, anyway.
Yeah. What I like is that from this you get the two sides. You get the illicit importing of whiskey from Canada and we're just going to brew it in the basement and pretend it's real and people will drink it.
And then watering it down.
Yeah, so you get the moonshine inside of it and the
actual smuggling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the crew members that Nucky recruits, I suppose is the right word. Is it Jimmy?
Yeah.
Jimmy's there. So he's kind of like the muscle of the group. So there's an amazing scene where they're meeting up with another sort of crime group. I don't know what you call it. OCG. Let's call them that. From Chicago. And there's a scene where he, being the muscle, is stood outside with their group's muscle, who is one of our favourite actors, Stephen Graham. And there's a cracking conversation. They're just having a chat, and then things are wrapping up. The meeting's wrapping up. Jimmy says, "Oh, it's been great. Really nice chatting to you tonight. My name's Jimmy." He holds his hand out, and that is when Stephen Graham shakes hands, and says, "Oh, I'm Al Capone." What was your reaction at that point when he said that?
Well, that's the thing. I had already worked out who he was going to be because I saw.
You son of a bitch.
Because in the scene before that, he turns around and he's got the two big scars on his face that Al Capone's quite famous for having.
I didn't know he had two scars, and I didn't know Al Capone had two scars either.
Yeah, so I saw that and was like, oh, cool. And also when I searched for it on Netflix, it was suggesting the Capone film, and I was like, maybe Al Capone's in this.
Oh, that's a shame. I really thought that was going to be quite a decent surprise.
It's also, I am aware that Al Capone made all of his money in the Prohibition era, so I was like, if he's not in this, it's weird.
Particularly if Chicago gets mentioned, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like, and it's sort of like, oh, well, he's either going to be one of the people who sat at the table ready for Prohibition to come in, or he's going to make his way up during it. But and then there's the whole, they just rob Nucky and then but still cut him in, which is weird. Well, they rob the shipment that Nucky sold and then got fucked over by the Rothsteins through all the this guy's just really good at gambling, so he basically gets the casino in debt to him, which is somehow Nucky's problem, and then goes, well, you owe me this much, and I guess that means the shipment's free. And it's just like, oh, that is... And it just seems like Nucky's not fully in control, which is quite good to an extent, because otherwise it'd be quite a boring TV show, I imagine, if he's just like, well, this is how it's going to work, and you just watch him make successful business deals every week, and you're like, oh.
But saying that, he has some sort of moral upstanding, because he alludes that his wife has died, and then in the sort of the storyline where it's Margaret, isn't it, is getting beaten by her husband, and then she's beaten to the extent that it's so bad that she then miscarries. He then has her husband killed.
Yes.
So, like, he does...
The thing, at what point in the show did you realise that her husband was going to die?
Like, it wasn't too far into it. I was like, well...
I think as soon as I saw... as soon as he came out, when she got picked up, I was like, I think at some point he's going to die.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be in this episode, but I hope it is.
Yeah.
And then, luckily, my dreams came true.
Your dreams. How long did this go on for? It went on till... Was it 2014? 2015 it finished?
Yeah, so I think it's 5 seasons.
Because I remember it being like a big... Like, it was on Sky, wasn't it, that it came over? Because all the HBO stuff came over from...
Yeah.
To Sky in here. So I knew it was on, like, while we were at uni and stuff. But I was never, like, massively that interested in it. But then, having seen the first episode, it's a great first episode. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. I don't know if I'm going to carry on with it. But part of me kind of just wants to see, like, the highlights of Stephen Graham.
That's the thing. I think I probably will carry on with it. I don't know if I'm going to prioritise Sopranos or this. I haven't decided yet. I'm sort of a little bit swayed towards this because it's got Margaret plays... I can't remember her character's name in Trainspotting, but she's in Trainspotting.
I figured that would be a reason. Kelly MacDonald. Michael Shannon was the other guy who's the...
oh, yeah.
Is it FBI? Is it FBI? It's not FBI. He's the prohibition, like, enforcer almost.
Yeah.
That guy.
I think it's a precursor to the FBI.
Yeah.
Because they just call them the feds.
Yeah, because they're not... The FBI don't show up until, what, 60s?
Yeah. Oh, they're just called the Bureau of Prohibition.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the thing. I guess it has a definite end date because Prohibition didn't last.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it lasted for 13 years. So
it would be quite interesting to see how they cope with suddenly their business dries up, though. I mean, I guess they just move into other stuff.
I guess what you could do is like a little time jump, and then you get like this is the very start of Prohibition, so it's all the setup.
But then I suppose you go into the war.
Prohibition ended before the war.
How much time was there between the?
Between the end of Prohibition and when America thinks the war started, there are 7 years. There's only six before it actually started. Yeah.
Jesus.
But I think it'd be interesting to see like the end of Prohibition as part of this as well.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know if I'm going to carry on with this one. I did really, really enjoy it. But I don't... The one thing I did think of that I was like, oh, I'm not sure about that. But I guess it's, the kind of... they're dependent on the time it was made and their budget. But there was a few like CGI shots, particularly of, like the sea and the sky. I was like, ooh, that looks a bit ropey. And that took me out of it a little bit.
There's also a dubbing one that I spotted in the first where Margaret and Nucky are talking in his office. There's just a point that Kelly MacDonald's lips are moving, and the words that you can hear are not the same.
Completely wrong. Yeah.
But yeah, I rewound it because I thought it was just like a sync error on my end, but it wasn't.
Yeah, I remember actually. Yeah, when I was on the plane watching this.
But yeah, no, I think it should be pretty good. I imagine it's one that I'll either watch all the way through to the end or just give up at some point.
I do like how every time Nucky leaves a room or a scene or something, he goes, "Well, it's fucking this, isn't it?" And he every single time. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but yeah, not sure if I'll carry on. I'm pleased I've seen it now.
Yeah, the thing that normally... What's confused is I think Steve Buscemi is actually in both of the shows.
Is he in Sopranos?
I think so.
I
was just looking to see what else he'd been in. Because I don't know why, but whenever I see him, I always think it's going to be something funny.
He plays Tony Blundetto. And he directed 4 episodes.
So, there is our link. Crime and Steve Buscemi.
We didn't even know that Steve Buscemi was in.
We can pretend that it was intentional.
Sure.
He's been in a lot of films.
Con Air.
Yeah. But no, it's that. Yeah, they're both pretty good shows. Crime doesn't pay unless you make it into a TV show.
I can't believe it's taken us this long to go, yeah, Sopranos is good.
Yeah, I think of the two, I think Sopranos is probably better. But I have this weird inkling. I sort of prefer period drama, and I don't know why.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Although The Sopranos is now so old, you could consider it a period drama.
Yeah. Oh, God, that's sad because it's not even as old as I am. Or you.
Nah.
Yeah, you're older than The Sopranos.
Yeah, but you're older than me, who's older than The Sopranos.
Yeah.
Fuck you. The next episode we're doing, I've already seen these. One of them, let me tell you, is a lot more fun than the other.
Let me guess. Chucky's more fun than The Exorcist.
Yeah, so we're doing Chucky and The Exorcist. Well, I suppose you'll have to listen to find out, won't you?
I will, yes. I will listen to the podcast that we do.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's a weird thought. Who knows where we'll be on the 17th of January.
I'll probably be at home panicking because I haven't edited the podcast yet.
No, that's the 16th.
No, it happens on the 17th.
Oh, okay.
It happens day off as well.
Yeah. Chucky and the X is coming next.
Yeah. At the start of what looks to be like a very...
busy but good. We've got a lot of good stuff coming up, I think.
Yeah. Well, there's already 2 shows that we know that Stephen Graham's in, so... Maybe we'll just go through his
entire back
TV
catalogue.
history and just go through all of them.
There's a lot of This Is England's.
Oh, yes. I do wonder how we could do This Is England on the podcast, because
what do you pair
sort of
it
have
with?
to watch the film.
I have seen the film.
You have seen the film?
Yeah.
Because you could only really pair it with itself, I think.
Is there an American show that comes back to the same characters after big time jumps? That's what we need to find.
The only thing I can think of is the Childish Gambino song, This Is America.
We should do that. Every single show we should compare 2 shows and the This Is America video.
All right, well, we'll be back in a couple of weeks.